There's Huang. What's he doing, Six? I believe he is reading. But why is he doing it out here? Because maybe he likes it out here? I just don't want the other two options. Because, like, reading outside is a very pleasant activity. Perhaps the level of light is preferable, mistress? I don't like it? What? Is he a suspicious character? What? Oh, I'd best get this over with. You know, Dispatch, I can see why you would think that they were frustrating, and I do agree that they are a bit, but Aliya! But on the other hand, they do have a lot of personality. I didn't know you were back on Iox. Professor Mayari wanted to see me. Like, I'm definitely getting the feeling that Aliya is nothing bad. Why would it be? Give me the gossip. Oh, no reason. Ugh. So why say it? Well, some people around here are surprised they won't let you go. Archaeology isn't important to everyone. But it is important to me. I love it too! Although I do most of my digging in book. I've been reading all day. Seems like a reasonable thing to do. I just came outside to rest my eyes. And there you were. I actually want to know. So you're going to ask him what he's reading, even though you don't want to. What were you reading? The annals again. Annals? Oh god, is there any good way to say that? Did you know Mazwai claims the Holy Empire was founded by 3 wolves racing to heaven? Each one toward the throat of the other, and as the 3 fell to earth... Are you really interested? Is it relevant to anything? It's only a story. But then, stories change how we think. So one will get me more story, will get me more world building, which delicious. But 3 seems to be how this character is. Like, that's the thing, right? Is that, like, the dialogue can be frustrating, but she's definitely got a very specific sort of personality, and she's not entirely likable. So you can't make her say things that will make her likable. So, like, yeah, that's kind of frustrating, but also, like, at least so far, I don't mind it. Tell me a story, then. All right. Most people glaze over.
He continued to talk.
Oh,
I watched his
wanted
mouth
to know
moving.
the
I love old stories, but Huang has a way of telling them.
That's frustrating. Aliya? Yes? You weren't listening. Never mind. I'll walk you to the dock. I see. So they're not going to let me keep procrastinating. Juan, do you know Jennifer Renba? Oh, I know Renba, of course. Well, a little. Why? What did he teach? Yeah, I want to know why he sent this brooch. He's a roboticist. Ah, is why he turned down 6. One of the best. One of the few. Oh, really? Interesting. Did you say did? Has something happened to Jean-Claude? let you know. By the waters. Before you go, it hardly seems important now, but I found a line of ancient in the there is no good way to say that word of Mazwai I thought you might like. If you have time, that is. More ancient? Yes, please, thank you. Here, see what you think. Oh, getting one for free. Well, not for free. Okay, wait, but that was emperor before. Is it not gendered? Okay. Yeah, it's not gendered because it's now being translated as empress and it was emperor before. And it's exactly the same. Interesting. The way that games deal with uncertain gender is always of interest to me for obvious reasons. But one of the things that I find interesting, especially in reading or watching things that have been translated from a language where you have non-gendered options. For example, in anime, you can talk about an unknown person. You can talk about a person in second person without specifying a gender, and you always have. Like it's not a new thing. But it usually gets translated as he or she, which means that you end up getting more clues to the person that they're talking to than perhaps was originally intended. Because, like, if they're just saying that person, I mean, and there are ways in Japanese to say, you know, that man or that woman or whatever. But, like, if they're not specifying, anyway, this actually answers a question I had earlier when I was looking at the timeline. I found it interesting that the founder was an empress, and then the final leader they had before the fall of Inox was an emperor, which suggested to me that like there was not necessarily matrilineal or patrilineal, that who was supposed to be ruler was not necessarily limited by gender, which this kind of reinforces for me that emperor is not gender specific. Yeah, no, I don't want any spoilers for this. I want to just I'm just talking about my theories. And especially since part of what I find interesting is what I can figure out from the information I have been given and nothing else. Especially since this game is very much dash nip in that they are giving you tons of world building, but it's all a little bit just kind of like in the way that they're presenting things, or in one or two sentences in the timeline, and not just giving you exposition. Like, having to puzzle out what's going on in the world is one of my favorite things to do in a piece of fiction. Dispatch, I think you are right. I think I am going to love this game. Like, I've already enjoyed the 2 hours I spent earlier today. I am having a hard time with some of these sigils to not lead them to the Japanese meaning, because like, or more correctly, like be like, oh, I know that one. That's a Japanese kanji. No, it is not. Like, it's not like any of them are super similar, but like there's a few, there's just like a few things that are like, oh, hey, do I know that? No, you don't. Yeah, I was actually just thinking about that, and I was wondering if maybe I should switch to something that I can do a brushstroke with. I have some markers that can, but the pencil, I think, is too valuable. I'm just gonna have to suck it up, I think. All right. So we've got vanished or buried. Oh boy, and we've got 4 choices for this. Okay. It's a passage from the annals, and I didn't get to know what it was he was actually reading about. I mean, he was reading about the founding of Iox, I think, what it was. So, Empress, banished or buried. Probably not labors or circuits. So we now know that roboticism is a rare talent. We know that robots are excavated. We know that, which all suggests that technology is quite old in this world, and that perhaps robotics has been lost and has needed to be rediscovered or something like that. But I feel like it's more likely to be rebels, especially since we've got holy and emperor, and earlier she was talking about how the word for holy was very similar to the word for emperor. Emperor. Okay. The difference here that I'm seeing is like the section here, and then there's the section here, or maybe here, depending on how you want to look at it, right? Like, I don't know what the half size sigil mean yet. Which means I don't know whether what I'm looking at is a reversal or a repeat or a direct repeat, and it just happens to have these little signifiers for some reason. Anyway, and again, trying not to let Japanese affect me, but all I could think of was that this was Hito. So, like, holy person, right? Like, that's where my brain went. And so the temptation with this is to say that this is, again, Hito. And so we've got rebellion person, right? Like, that's the temptation. I'm going to go ahead and go with it, even though it's probably bullshit. Because in Japanese, the way that you say the way that you make a verb into the description of a person is you just add person onto it. Firefighting person. Dispatch says to trust my heart. Yeah, it's probably fine. Anyway, okay, and then we've got the other word. Banished or buried, which has a whole lot. Like, none of these are repeats from before, unless we want to count. No, not even that little tiny dot. That little tiny dot it doesn't have the extra curve with it. So, okay. So I guess the next question then we have to ask is, how brutal was the Empire? And I have no clue. Right now, I have no clue how brutal the Empire was. Now, empires, generally, are pretty brutal. But let's try banished. Banished. Rebels. Let's try that. I think that's correct. It's quite a monster, isn't it? A story from the founding of the Empire itself? I suppose the first Empress was one of your 3 wolves. I'd best not keep you. I hope you find him. Huang. Shall we proceed to your ship now? Have you sailed before, 6? I have no idea, mistress. But I am keen to find out. And so we left the hollowed walls of the university